Well, welcome everybody. I am going to put my presentation up. And I am going to go here and here. Does everybody see my presentation?
You got it.
Perfect.
Great.
Yes.
I was having some mouse challenges. All right. Well, I would like to welcome everyone. My name is, well, I'll introduce myself in a moment. This presentation is called What's Sea Scouting, What's in it for your flotilla? And our presenters today, we have several presenters, but I'll let Holly introduce herself and then I'll introduce myself.
All right. So I'm Holly Johnson, the staff officer for District 5 for the AuxScout program in Southern Region, District 5. So I joined the auxiliary in 2005, but it might surprise you that I've been a registered Sea Scout for 40 years. So as newlyweds, Bruce and I moved to Chicago, where Bruce started a Sea Scout ship at the Coast Guard station on Lake Michigan in Wilmette, Illinois. So I've been hooked on Sea Scouting ever since. And I asked Pat Curley to organize the content for this presentation because of the success of the AuxScout program in North Carolina. Pat is involved with multiple organizations, and he's been known to wear as many as 3 different uniforms during the course of one day. He's the SO for AuxScout for Division 20, and he's also the ADSO for AuxScout for Virginia. And on the scouting side of things, Pat is Council Commodore for East Carolina Council, and he's also the ship committee chair for ship 7730 in Moorhead City. So I just want to take a couple more minutes and just give a little bit of background on AuxScout. In 2018, the Coast Guard Auxiliary and the Boy Scouts of America signed an agreement making Sea Scouts the official youth program of the Coast Guard Auxiliary. So since that time, the partnership between the two organizations, which is called AuxScout, has gained a lot of momentum. So AuxScout staff have been working hard to promote the Sea Scout program, both inside the Coast Guard and the wider boating community. And what we're doing is very important for the future of the Coast Guard as well as the auxiliary. So with the input from the workshop speakers and some input from, you, the attendees, we hope that you're going to leave this workshop with ideas about how working with Sea Scouts can give your flotilla a major boost. So at this point, Pat, I'll turn things over to you.
Okay, I apologize about the slides. I just realized the little wheel on my mouse actually can change the slides. I'm sitting here wondering why are the slides changing? So yeah, a little bit more about me. I've been in scouting for well over 50 years. I actually met my wife as an explorer as a kid. I love scouting so much that I really didn't pay attention to school. So right after high school, I found the next best thing to scouting. I was in the Marine Corps infantry for about 20 years and traveled around, did fun things like that. After I got out of the Marine Corps, I was a professional scout for about 5 years. And that wasn't exciting enough for me. So I became a middle school teacher, which was very exciting, if you can imagine. And so I actually taught middle school, high school, and then I taught at North Carolina State University as an assistant professor there. Some of the other things I'm involved in, I'm an assistant governor for our Rotary district. I am involved with the Marine Corps League. I am a Cub Scout Bear Den leader. And of course, we're involved in the Sea Scouting program also. And so let's move on to I got to do the wheel the other way. Oh, there we go. All right. So what's the objectives of this presentation? What we're doing during this presentation is we're introducing flotillas to the benefits of chartering and partnering with a Sea Scout ship. We're really not going to be talking about how do you go about chartering, but more of what's the benefit to your flotilla. And during this presentation, we're going to make this kind of fun because I have some presenters who will be assisting me and talking about some of the success stories and how they were actually increased the membership of their flotilla and then helped the flotilla mission because of Sea Scouting. So let's go on to the next one. Next slide. Okay, so if you're not familiar with the Coast Guard Auxiliary, the Coast Guard Auxiliary has several missions. Some of those missions are to support the Coast Guard with their food service, their clergy, interpreters. They can also assist in public relations, photography, web design, both internal and external media, and they can provide speakers that go out in the community and talk about the Coast Guard. We have a large mission of recreational boating safety. And so it's the Coast Guard Auxiliary that does the vessel safety exams, partner visitation, where we go around and leave literature and information at marinas and all over the place, sporting goods stores, dentist offices, anybody that let us put our display in there. And we also do the safe boating instruction. And we provide instructors and trainers in safe boating. And of course, we also help with the recruiting effort for the Coast Guard Auxiliary, and we assist them with their Academy Partner program, where we actually go out to the high schools and talk to teenagers and folks that might be eligible to get into the Coast Guard Academy. Got to figure which way, I got to push the wheel. All right. So my question to you out there, and I'd like to have, if some of us can volunteer your experience, what does your membership look like in your flotilla? What's the average age of your members? Are you growing members or are you losing members? Do you have enough qualified people to actually succeed in some of the missions that your flotilla wants to engage in? And does the age and the health of your members actually limit your mission capability in any way? Can we have any volunteers out there that watching this presentation that might want to answer some of those questions?
Pat, I'll give you a hand there.
Okay.
Mr. Tom Cox, I'm from 912, which is in the Piedmont section of North Carolina. My flotilla is up on Carr Lake. Probably the average age of our group is probably around 60 or better. However, we are gaining more members. Some of them coming from the Scout program. Some of them are coming from our boat safety classes and general PA events at this time.
Right. I know my flotilla is the same. Because of COVID, of course, we lost quite a few members that just lost interest over 2 years of no meetings. And we also had a pretty, the average age of our flotilla was the same as yours, Tom, probably 60 plus. Since then, we've had, I think this past year, we had 7 new members, all coming from Sea Scouting. And so we've got some parents and some Sea Scouts. So that changed the average age significantly. And actually all of the membership that we got last year all came from Sea Scouting. Oh, I'm sorry, except for two individuals.
Yeah, well, ours tended to stay, our numbers tended to stay about the same because we lost a few and then we gained a few more. So we didn't really grow necessarily in numbers, but we kind of stayed the same throughout all that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Would anybody else like to share?
Well, I had some information from Kenny Barefoot from Flotilla 2006. And he said that 3 scouts and 2 parents have joined his flotilla.
Great. And we didn't talk much about them yesterday, and it's probably not a good way of building a flotilla, but we had ship 25 that
Yes, and I'm
have been
going to talk
active.
about, yes, I'll be happy to talk about that a little later.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, well, let's move on. Well, Sea Scouting can really help you quite a bit as far as any challenges that your flotilla might have as far as age and mission capability, because the average age, well, the age for a Sea Scout is 14 to 20 years of age. So they're high school students and community college students. The neat thing is they also have parents, and those parents are many times in their 30s or 40s, which can, a lot of times these parents, I know what I do a lot when we have a new Sea Scout join our ship, I sit down and have a chat with the parents and say, your kid's going to grow up and go off to college. He's going to move out of the house. And this might be the last chance you have to really go out and do things as a family with your kid. And that's one of the advantages of Sea Scouting. And of course, they can all join a flotilla together and enjoy their time together. And when the kid moves out of the house, the parents, hopefully, while they're in the auxiliary, have built relationships and friendships, and they stay with the flotilla. So you might get a twofer there. Again, if you're age 14 to 17, you can join the flotilla, but you have to be a registered Sea Scout, and that's important to know. Once they're past 17, they can join the flotilla without being a Sea Scout. And when the scouts are doing flotilla things, they wear the auxiliary uniform, and when they're doing Sea Scout things, they wear the Sea Scout uniform. Good thing about these kids that come in, if they're under 17, well, if they're over 17, they can get qualified in anything that the flotilla has to offer. If they're under 17, they used to be limited. They're still a little bit limited, but they, before the Coast Guard Auxiliary signed the memorandum of understanding, a 17 or younger youth couldn't join the Coast Guard Auxiliary. So these Sea Scouts who are under 17 years of age, they can actually take any training. They can enroll in the auxiliary training, and they can train in any competency. However, there is some limitation if they're under 17. They really can't do a job that might be an independent job, or I hate to use the word command, but a job where they're responsible. So certain jobs they can't do. Normally they cannot attend the C school, which is the face-to-face school, unless it's in their area. So if it's in their local area, they can attend that. So these are the positions that they can train for. They can get all the qualifications under their belt. They just can't hold these responsibilities, which is the coxswain, personal watercraft operator, paddlecraft operator, air commander, first pilots, co-pilots, things like that. But the other positions they can hold. And I think, oh, okay, I'm going to go this part here first. So you can see with their training, this is the Sea Scout positions. And these are the correlations that they could, basically, if they do the training through the Coast Guard Auxiliary, they would fulfill these requirements as far as our rank positions. So Sea Scout ranks are apprentice, ordinary, able, and quartermaster. And so you can see here, if they were to take just the boating skills and safety course, they would knock off quite a few of the requirements they would need for their advancements. And I'll give you a second to look that over there. And so we had a guest yesterday that talked about the fact that it's just so hard to get people to get qualified in things. Well, Sea Scouts are kind of motivated because they're earning both their rank and they can get this training. So it's a way of getting your auxiliaries trained and a way for the kids to get some advancements at the same time.
Pat.
Yes.
I had somebody tell me the other day that they went through this scenario you got here, and by the time the Sea Scout reaches his second rank, he has already qualified for boat crew. Once he's gone through the third rank, he's already qualified for a coxswain, with the exception of maybe one or two tasks.
Which is that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay. So and actually your Sea Scouts can hold offices within the flotilla. They can't hold an elected office, but they can hold some of the appointed offices. Some of the appointed officers that a Sea Scout can hold is the flotilla staff officer, secretary. They can hold, they can work in public affairs, communications, some food services, things like that. So there are quite a few of these positions here that if you're looking to fill them within your flotilla, I know like secretary, sometimes that's a hard position to fill. People don't like to do that. But you might have some kids who would step up there and really enjoy doing that. And of course, a lot of these kids like to do the photography and things like that. It'd be great to be able to take a young person in your flotilla and make them your flotilla photographer, who is responsible for collecting the correct images and getting them out there in the social media. Okay, so here's how your Sea Scouts can actually help your flotilla with some of your missions. So in recreational boating safety mission, they can assist with public education, with standing out in, I know our Sea Scouts assist us quite a bit with various public things that we're doing, some PA events at the seafood festivals and boat shows and things like that. They're out there helping out with some of our public education. They can promote boating safety. I know my flotilla, and actually some of the other flotillas here in North Carolina, we have been doing like Boat America for teens and paddle safety for teens. And we're getting a different crowd. We're getting a younger crowd. The presentations are a lot of fun. And of course, we're recruiting Sea Scouts out of those presentations also. They can assist you with on-the-water operations. They can actually work as a boat crew member and assist with that type of stuff. And of course, they can serve as instructors. So another way of growing your instructor staff or your flotilla staff. Again, I mentioned public affairs before. You know, when your flotilla actually goes out and does a display somewhere. My flotilla just did a fishing school, and they put us in the perfect place. We were right outside the men's room, and during breaks there'd be a long line, so we were getting lots of visitors to our spaces. But when you put these young faces out there, it does make you a little bit more approachable, and you'll get parents, you'll get some other teens that'll come by your spaces and learn about the auxiliary and what you're doing, etc. They call this generation the digital natives. These kids are great at web design and social media and things like that. So it adds an awful lot to your flotilla. One of our missions is marine environment protection. My Sea Scout ship actually participates every year in the North Carolina Clean Sweep, beach sweep that they have. And what we do is we actually have a shoreline along the White Oak River that the kids police up by kayak. And so, they're old enough, they can get out there and maneuver these kayaks around, and they can get to some trash that the people on foot can't get to. This photograph right here is a boatswain of our ship, Alex. And for the past 2 years, we've had a super fundraiser where we put posters out in the various places that sell Christmas trees. And the day after Christmas and the day after New Year's, you can throw your Christmas tree out your front door and we'll come pick it up. And what we're doing with the trees is we partnered with the Surf Rider Foundation, and the kids spend, I think it was last weekend, they were out there and they tie the trees together along the sand dunes at the beach. And actually it captures sand and replenishes the sand dunes on the beach there. So we're getting a fundraiser, a community service project, and a environmental conservation project done all at one time. Yeah, and so these kids can do an awful lot of stuff out there as far as community service does, and clean beach sweeps and things like that, that some of the older population of your flotilla might not be able to or not desire to do. And of course, they can help with the food service assistance program. All of our high schools and our technical school have a culinary program where these kids are learning to work in restaurants and things like that. So this is a perfect match for them. And it helps a lot. I know we have quite a few Coast Guard stations here on the coast of North Carolina, and they're always looking for people to help. And I know the culinary service and the food service areas is lacking in some of these Coast Guard stations. So they depend a lot on the auxiliary to help them with it. And Tom, I'll let you talk about this group because you know them. So they can help with your vessel exams. They can help with, going out on patrols and things like that. And if you're not familiar with a vessel exam, you can actually bring you don't have to bring anyway. The Coast Guard will come to you, or the Coast Guard Auxiliary will come to you, and they have this neat little sticker you put on the side of your boat. And we go over all your safety gear, make sure it's all good. And it can be a 40-foot boat, or it could be a paddle craft. We would go out and inspect that. But this is an opportunity for the young people to go out there and assist you with doing this. And as of last year, I believe it was last year, they came out, and one of the requirements they have for their rank is to assist with or be present at a vessel exam. So it's a great partnership. And Tom, you want to talk about these kids here?
Okay, these kids are from ship 244 in the Piedmont section of North Carolina. They're up there on Carr Lake where my flotilla is. They have a couple of boats actually that are stationed on the water itself. This is at the Governor's Cup, which is a sailing regatta of probably 200 to 500 sailing vessels. And they went out with us, and we literally let them helm the boat and pretty much run it while we set aside and just helped them do it. And it's been a great experience. My boat was out there, and I think I had several Sea Scouts on my vessel as well. So, we had a drone up there in the air flying over this whole thing just to see which boats might be in trouble, and we could get a better view of it. Whether didn't give us a chance to go in and help, and they got to know that and how we actually use that kind of thing. So yeah, this was a neat group of scouts.
As I'm looking at the picture, Tom, the young man staying in the front on the boat there, is that Evan Natharis?
Yes, sir. It sure is.
Well, you remember I was just telling you we have a Rotaract club where we meet with scouts from all around the world.
Right.
He's the president of my Rotaract club.
Doesn't
Yes,
surprise me
funny?
whatsoever.
Small world, huh?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, he reached out to me, and he's one of those, he aged out of scouting. He went to University of Charlotte, and he heard about this really neat club that meets with other scouts from around the world. And he bothered me enough about it that we got this up and rolling. And yeah, he's the president of the club. I just recognized him as he was standing there. Okay, and the Coast Guard Auxiliary does have a mission with assisting the Coast Guard with their recruiting. And the Coast Guard they're having a hard time with recruiting. They were short about 7,000 kids last year. And so they need our help. And they also need help with the Academy Introduction mission. And, you know, you think about your Sea Scouts are, I mean, what a great target to be looking at as far as kids who might have the propensity to not only go to the Coast Guard Academy, but naval academies, merchant marine academies, any of the nautical trades, because these kids are the kids that are interested in this kind of stuff. Okay. What I did was I actually asked Captain Bear. Captain Bear is the commanding officer of North Carolina, or Coast Guard North Carolina. Let me try that again. He's a commanding officer of Coast Guard Sector, North Carolina. And he has a message for us.
Hello, Team Coast Guard. In case you don't recognize me, this is Captain Matt Bear, your Sector. I want to thank you for giving me a couple minutes of your time today to talk to you about how much I value the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary, as well as the Sea Scout program that you guys are learning about today, as well as share a little bit of our recruiting challenges across the Coast Guard. So first, let me start by saying thank you very much for your interest in the Sea Scout program. It's certainly something that is of great value to the Coast Guard Auxiliary, and I want to thank our 5 divisions and 25 flotillas across the state for being very supportive of this program. In case you don't know, we have at least 7 Sea Scout ships across the state right now, and we could always use more. So your commendable interest in the Sea Scout program is frankly very much needed in our Coast Guard and also our society overall. So let me talk a little bit about the shortages we're facing in Team Coast Guard right now. Presently, we're a little over 3,000 enlisted women and men short, nearly 400 officers, and 1,000 people short in each of our reserve component and the civilian workforce. And I don't even need to tell you and remind you as to what COVID did to our auxiliary numbers across the nation. So that's where I think we can partner very, very much together in the Sea Scout program overall. So here's the deal. If they're under age 42, how about you send them our way? You know, we have recruiting offices in Charlotte, the Raleigh-Durham area, right here in Wilmington. And we'd be happy to host them at Sector North Carolina or at any one of our 17 field units across the state. If they're over 42, we're going to send them your way. And hopefully you can hook them into one of our 5 divisions or 25 flotillas right here in the state. As far as the Sea Scout program goes, every one of these young women and men have a parent or a legal guardian. So that might be a twofer for us. If we can get them hooked into this Coast Guard Auxiliary and the Sea Scout program, you know, maybe we'll have them as a future coastie. And then the challenge remains for you to hook those parents and legal guardians to join their ranks in the flotillas and divisions out there. So I'll close the way I started by saying thank you. Thank you for all that you have done, all that you are doing, and all that you will continue to do in support of Team Coast Guard. My absolute best wishes to you, your families, and your shipmates in the flotillas and divisions across North Carolina. Blessings to each of you. Semper Paratus.
And so now we're going to talk about some success stories. This is actually Captain Bear. He came out with my ship that was, we were doing a display between, there was the auxiliary and the Sea Scout unit working together at a Veterans Day event. And you see that young man in the front, he's actually a maritime explorer. And so our ship has really benefited from that program. These are middle schoolers, and I think we had 4 kids move up this year into the Sea Scout ship. So we're trying to catch them when they're young, and we hang on to them. So that's a good deal. But Captain Bear came out there and he looked around. He said, "Boy, this is the Sea Scouts that's a solution to the Coast Guard's recruiting problem." He goes, "You got some good kids out there." And we had quite a few. They just weren't in the right uniform, so we had to move them out of the area. And so those are the successes we have. I think, I'm not sure if everybody got it, but we had Ken Barefoot yesterday talking about his ship and some of the things that they're doing. Their flotilla is benefiting quite a bit. His kids went out to the camporee this weekend and won the camporee. And of course, everybody's like, you know, who are these Sea Scouts? Where did they come from? But he was bragging on that this morning in the email. And so these are some of the, just a map of just a few of the Sea Scout ships that are here in the United States. These little markers here, the different colors are basically ships that are chartered by Coast Guard Auxiliary. They have ships that are paddlecraft ships and scuba ships and things like that. So that's what the different colors are that are on here. But you can see that Sea Scouting, you know, there's plenty of Sea Scouts here in the United States. I don't know if Holly would like to add anything to that, or.
Well, I actually just put the link in chat for you. We don't actually have this set up right now as a live link, but what you really want to do is to, you know, pull this all apart and actually look at all the details for all of this for this particular area that you're interested in. So it does contain a huge amount of detail.
Yeah, and I think we got a couple of ships in Arizona too, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, great. Okay. And so, and Holly, I'll let you talk about this too, the ships that we have right here in our own district.
Right, sure. So we actually have 7 auxiliary chartered Sea Scout ships here in D5 South, and that's more than any other district in the country. It was interesting that at our Friday workshop, Tom Dewey, who is skipper of the first auxiliary chartered Sea Scout ship, and he's from Lake Norman, he was at that workshop on Friday, and so he said that one of his adult leaders had joined, and he was also looking into joining as well. I wanted to also talk about something that happened yesterday. Several of us in this workshop attended an historic Sea Scout event. Ship 25 in Washington, D.C. held a Bridge of Honor for the Sea Scouts who had achieved ordinary rank. And Ship 25 has a membership of 40 young men and women Sea Scouts. So it also has 21 adult advisors from commercial, law enforcement, and military maritime professions, as well as experienced Sea Scout leaders. So the ship is chartered by Division 25, and together they actually formed a new Coast Guard auxiliary flotilla. So yesterday's event also included the chartering ceremony for Flotilla 2525. And the new flotilla is comprised of the Scouts who just earned this ordinary rank, adult Sea Scout leaders, and experienced auxiliarists. So this is the first of its kind that and is actually focusing on the AuxScout mission and best practices. Jonathan Pierpan is on our call today, and he has been for the last couple of years our FSOAS for 2501. And so he's been actively involved with Ship 25 and will continue to be actively involved with this. And sorry, I didn't ask him ahead of time. I don't know, Jonathan, if you'd like to add anything at this point, and it's okay if you don't want to, because I didn't really ask you ahead.
No, well, no, that's fine. Thank you, Holly. It was great to actually meet everyone in person, or some of the people in person yesterday for the first time. And it was a very good event. It's very exciting. You know, we got off to a great start, and it took, you know, a long time to get to that point. So we're glad we were able to achieve it. And we're glad you and Bruce were able to join us. So it's very exciting. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, so back to you, Pat.
Okay. So I also have some other very important speakers, and I would like to introduce first Tom Cox. And so Tom is the Assistant District Staff Officer for AuxScout for the state of North Carolina.
Thank you, Pat. Basically, I report to Holly, so I kind of do what she says, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I laugh at that one. you guys were talking about what you do earlier in your cataloging system with the computers. So um, I started out working with the computer systems that not only launched but monitored the space shuttle while they were up in the air. So I've had some fun with computers over the years as well.
Mhm.
Uh, but I started out in scouting when I was 8 years old. I'm 76 now, so you do the math there. I switched to Sea Scouts in 1960 and have been in Sea Scouts ever since. So I think that puts me a little over 60 years as a Sea Scout. I was also a district commissioner with the scouting and have gotten to know, worked with scout units, keeping them alive, starting them up, and doing those kind of things there. So my job as the ADSO, though, it started out really to be more of let's find all the ships in North Carolina and try to work with who on in the flotilla side is anywhere near them that could either start other ships or I guess support the Sea Scout ships. Um, and it doesn't take a lot to support a ship. You're doing training, charting, whatever you do in your training sessions, invite them along. Uh, but I will guarantee you, if you start getting involved with them, the one thing you pretty much you have to do is put them in the water, put them on a boat with you. They can absolutely go on missions with you. We can, if you need to know how that happens, just ask. We'll be happy to let you know that. Um, so um, I guess we've got, I guess my division itself, we've got 3 out of the 6 flotillas there that have gained Sea Scouts as members and some of the Sea Scout leaders as members. So we have gained membership through this association as well. And they have gained a lot of knowledge, I guess, of on the water and actually shoreside training is, you know, in addition to that. Uh, got any, if there's any questions, just let me know. Anytime, give me a call, email, text, whatever.
Thank you, Tom. And now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Pete Sargent. And so Pete is the National Sea Scout Staff Advisor, and he is also serves on the National Sea Scout Training Committee. Welcome, Peter.
Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who don't know what a staff advisor is, for those of you who are in the service, some of us got referred to as dog robbers. Jack of all trades, master of none. I happen to serve on the National Sea Scout Committee, reporting to the National Commodore, Ben Farrell, and peer of mine actually is Bruce Johnson, who is also on this Zoom meeting as well. Hello, Bruce. And between us and our colleagues on the National Sea Scout Committee, we're committed to supporting the program, which is, is this, most people don't realize it's the second oldest program in scouting. So if you figure that Boy Scouts of America were founded in 1911, the Sea Scout program was added to that in about the 1913, 1912 timeframe. So we are well over 100 years old in terms of the program itself. We work very closely with the Coast Guard Auxiliary. I myself, I am not an auxiliarist. I have spent my career, my volunteer career in scouting, both as a youth, starting much like Tom when I was 8. So he and I have something in common, though I'm only 65. So, again, do the math, but not quite as long as Tom, but been doing it for a very long time, held a number of positions in scouting, including Sea Scouts over the years. This is a great way for, as Tom mentioned earlier, for people to learn a career and understand what is needed. Doesn't necessarily mean the Coast Guard, doesn't necessarily mean the Navy, But think about this, we, as an example, at the good graces of the Coast Guard and the Coast Guard Auxiliary, we sponsor tech talks for our Sea Scouts once a month. We had a great conversation just the other night, last week, with the National Hurricane Center, a couple of senior meteorologists who talk about the careers in meteorology within the national, within NOAA. So these are all types of careers that can be thought about. And yes, these youth are very, well, you know, the derisive term might refer to as geeks, but they are very focused. Most of them are very focused. And they really want to learn about boating, sailing. We've sent some kids off to the Naval Academy and the Coast Guard Academy that I'm aware of personally in the last couple of years. We have a young lady at the Coast Guard Academy, and we have, and we also a couple of years ago sent a young lady to the, couple of young ladies to the Naval Academy, one of which, as a freshman, became a boat captain for the, and that's, from my understanding, that's the first time ever that they've actually established a freshman boat captain for their sailing team, because she was a nationally ranked sailor. And where did she learn to sail? The Sea Scouts. So again, Bruce and Holly know how to find me if you have any questions about the program, you know, and I'll just go from there. Turn it back to you, Pat.
Okay, thank you, Peter. As a matter of fact, you know, I didn't mention this yesterday, and I saw Bruce put a statement on here that one of his Sea Scouts was a naval architect. My ship, our Sea Scouting program, started out of the Center for Marine Science and Technology at NC State University. And since that time, we've had 4 of our Sea Scouts actually go to NC State under the Marine Biology program. And two of them have actually worked as interns there at the Center for Marine Sciences. The director there, I mean, every time I see him, he says, I wish my other graduate students had the skills and the knowledge that you've instilled in these young people. They come in here and they already have a lot of the things they need to go out there and work on the research vessels and things like that. And I don't have a slide for Bruce, but I would like to introduce Bruce. And Bruce, if you'd like to kind of talk at us a little bit, that'd be great.
Sure, I'll be happy to. Thanks, Pat. This is a great opportunity for flotillas and divisions to not only have an impact on young people, but also to directly benefit their membership. I've been an auxiliarist for 23 years and a scout for 61 years, 62 years. So I strongly believe in both organizations. It bothers me that in the 23 years that I've been an auxiliarist, the auxiliary's national membership has dropped from 39,000 to something like 22,000. Now, this is an opportunity for us to do something about it. We can work with young people and their parents and their leaders, help them to become better citizens, to become better Americans, introduce them to maritime careers, teach them safe boating at a time in their lives when they haven't had a lifetime of experience doing it the wrong way. They'll learn it the right way with us and with the Sea Scouts and become safe boaters. Another concern I have, I'm a lifelong boater myself, and what you hear in the boating industry is that fewer and fewer people are getting involved in boating. Well, this is a great opportunity for us to share our love of and excitement for boating with a new generation and get them excited about getting out on the water and not spending all day in front of a computer, and enjoying what boats and swimming and scuba diving and paddling have to offer. So I've heard some people fret about how much work this is, and among scouters, worldwide, there's a running joke that it only takes an hour and an hour a week to do scouting. Well, I'm sorry to say it does take a little bit more time than that, but the rewards are tremendous. Getting to work with these really great kids is refreshing. They are the best and the brightest of our communities, and we can help them to become even better. And some of them will decide to join us, some of them won't, but we'll also leave them with the impression that the Coast Guard and the Coast Guard Auxiliary are a force for good and people that they want to identify with. So this is a great opportunity for you. It's not without its challenges, and it is going to take some time and energy. But if we want to have a Coast Guard Auxiliary in 5 or 10 years, we need to be focusing more on getting younger people involved and getting them trained so that we can do things when all of us are dead and buried, which will happen sooner or later. So thank you very much. And please let us know how we can help you. And I'll turn it back to you, Pat.
Well, you know, when you were talking there, Bruce, I was thinking that's one of the challenges I know we have with our ship is the fact that we have that Sea Scouting actually has a tendency of attracting the best and the brightest, the kids who are seeking leadership opportunities. And so I know with our ship, these crazy kids are into everything. They're into sports and band and theater, and you know, that's the biggest challenge we have is trying to make sure we have a meeting time where we can all get together, because those are the kids that are the leaders in their schools or leaders in the community. You know, we got 2 of our Sea Scouts that we had to change meetings because they had Girl Scout meetings same evening. So that's a great problem to have, and that's the kind of talent you want your flotillas to have. It's another great reason why you need to be affiliated with a Sea Scout ship if you're not so far. And I'm going to go back to sharing here, and I think we're getting ready to wrap this up here. Okay. So the scientist in me had I just couldn't be happy with this presentation. I had to go kind of do a little research on what happens when you start getting young people associated with some older folks. And actually there's quite a bit of research on this, and it's good news. And so actually by a flotilla that has an aging population, to start bringing some of these younger people in, Sea Scouts in, you're opening up a whole new set of opportunities, both to learn some new skills and to teach some skills and pass on some of your knowledge. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. And actually, if you're working with younger people, and I think Bruce did a super job of saying it is refreshing. I enjoyed, I feel really good when when I hang out with folks like the people on this presentation here, when I hear all the years in scouting, because I actually have a closet in my room here that's full of uniforms. And every time I put a new uniform in there, the wife is just shaking her head thinking, you know, she's like, you're never going to grow up, are you? So it feels good to be around birds of a feather. It sounds like the bunch of us have been doing this for a long, long time. Yeah, so you're going to actually feel more life satisfaction. It's good for your health. It's good for the health of the folks within your flotilla to have these young people in there. And you're going to build a much stronger community within your within the Coast Guard Auxiliary. And I think the last line here is probably one of the better reasons in the world to have these young people here. And I think, Bruce, you just said it too. Sooner or later, we're all going to be dead and buried. We need to pass the torch. And we can keep our Coast Guard stories alive. We can keep our auxiliary stories alive, and our scouting experiences. We can pass it on to the next generation. And I think that's really one of the most important reasons why we need to grow the Sea Scout program within the Coast Guard Auxiliary programs. And that Oh, okay. And so if you want more information, Holly's been doing a great job of putting some in the links. If you want some more information about getting involved, I know Clark, you mentioned that you're just kind of figuring out how to get this back into your flotilla or to pick up the Sea Scouting program. Clark, are you currently in the flotilla? Are you assigned as an FSO for AuxScout at all?
No. My right now I'm still just basic, and I don't carry any rank at the moment, but I'm trying to prepare for the future because I know eventually we're going to start once it starts rolling, and I want to be a little more prepared. You know, the courses to take and the things to do and how to do it the right way. So
Great. Well, Clark, there is an SOP, the AuxScout SOP,
Mhm.
that explains the AuxScout program. And within the Coast Guard Auxiliary, there is a position, FSO for AS, AuxScout. And this explains the job right here and everything you need to know about.
That's great. That's great.
Getting a sea scouting. Yeah. So, and that's something that, you know, as you start talking to the flotilla and the flotilla starts getting interested, I'm willing to bet that a lot of them don't realize that we have this type of organization and affiliation with the Sea Scouts.
Yeah,
Right.
and Pat, I'll just jump in a minute and say we have a lot of FAQs that are on our AuxB wiki. So, and I had put that link in. We have a shortened version of it here, but so questions that people have come up with over the last few years. It's very helpful to look there because you might find the answer there.
Great.
So, yep, I wanted to mention that.
And you know what? When I can't remember where to find this wiki, I just Google AuxScout, and it's one of the first items that pops up there.
Right.
So when in doubt, Google it. But so that really concludes my presentation today. And I do again want to thank Holly and Bruce for the contributions they've made. I couldn't have done this without them. I really couldn't have done it because I didn't even have the link. And of course, Tom and Peter, thank you very much for jumping in there too. Are there any questions or comments?
Well, at this point, one thing I wanted to mention is that Peter has kindly recorded these sessions for us. So we will be putting that up. And it will be on our AuxScout YouTube channel. And that's where we actually post all of the workshops and the trainings that we've done. So it's a great resource for all kinds of things. We actually, my actual flotilla has used a lot of the presentations there for training. So, so we encourage you to go to that. And yep. And so let me know if there's anyone here that didn't register ahead that would actually like me to send the link out to you after the workshop.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Oh, Andy, would you like to?
Yeah, I didn't register ahead. I'm a member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary and also a Sea Scout Commodore. I've been scouting for 10 years. And yeah, this is great information. I'm trying to, I was very involved in Boy Scouts BSA, and now, my real love is boating. So trying to marry the two with the Sea Scouts. So, but great information today. And if you could send me the link to your YouTube channel, that would be great.
Yes. So yes, and actually, can I have your last name, Andy? Because you said
yes,
you're an auxiliarist as well, right?
Right. Preiser, Preis, as in Sam, ER.
Okay.
Andrew is what I'm probably registered under, but I like
Mhm.
Andy. And I'm a member of Division 7, Flotilla 12 up in the 5th Northern Region,
Okay. Excellent.
and
Yeah.
member of the Jersey Shore Council Sea Scout or Scouting program, uh, obviously along the Ocean and Atlantic County of New Jersey.
Okay, so I'm putting the link in again for the YouTube channel, but
Yeah,
I will
you
look up your email address and I can actually, let you know when that's posted.
right. So I looked up, you have the 3 ships on the map that are in our council, which is terrific. So we're trying to go to our division meeting this Thursday to present to them the benefits of having the Sea Scouts work with all the flotillas in the division. So definitely I love the idea of the memberships. We're thinking about some of the young members who are taking the public boating safety course might be interested in Sea Scouts. And then wouldn't it be great if you could get their parents either involved in Sea Scouts and the auxiliary? Would be terrific.
Yep. Win-win.
Well, Andy, the reason why this presentation came about is my conversations with Holly is we had presentations about how to organize a Sea Scout ship, but I was hoping to put something together that's more of a sales presentation to our flotilla of what's the benefit of having a Sea Scout ship, and how does a flotilla actually engage their Sea Scouts? We have quite a few. I know my flotilla is we had several members who did not want to charter our Sea Scout ship just because they were old scouters from a long time ago, and they said we don't want to lead kids around. We don't. That's why we're in the auxiliary and not in the Scouts. We don't want anything to do with it. But guess what? Over the past 2 years, a couple of those folks have passed away from old age, and all of our membership last year all came from Sea Scouting. So we need to change the way we look at scouting. We need to change the way we look at the way we're doing business out there with our flotillas. What's the old saying? If you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting.
Andy, I will tell you that if you can get the Sea Scouts out on a boat with you, working with your auxiliarist, the Sea Scouts themselves will change the guys' minds. I've come up on a bunch of them that are just like Pat says. They don't want to have anything to do with the young kids. And you get them out there in the water on the boat and start doing things with them. And all of a sudden they're best buddies. And hey, when can these guys go out with us again? So keep plugging at it. If you got any questions at all, get a hold of one of us, Holly, Bruce, myself, and Pat, any of us that are out there, and we can help you. If we don't know it, we can point you somewhere where the answer is.
Yeah, that's great. And I'll tell you, the Sea Scouts in our ship love being out on the water. It almost energizes them. So
Mhm.
an opportunity like that is awesome. I totally agree.
Well, we're here to help you be successful. There are no problems, there are only challenges and opportunities. So I know that sounds trite, but really this is a great opportunity. It won't come without work. If it were easy, anybody could do it, but we are uniquely qualified to help make this happen. So let us know how we can help you be successful.
Great. Well, if there's no other comments, I would like to again thank my my guests and my speakers, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday afternoon.
Thanks, Pat.